Hello everyone and welcome back to another album review. And in this video I'm going to review Full Virgo by King Dude. King Dude started making music early in the previous decade, and in a short period of time he has managed to be one of the more well known and one of the more important recent artists in the sound of Neofolk music. And Neofolk is a genre that I don't really follow that much, mainly because most of the stuff in this genre are not close to my preferences in sound. I can appreciate and I can recognize a good Neofolk album, but my closest enjoyment on Neofolk music comes to some of the more unique and experimental approaches of artists like Current 93. On the other hand, Kick Dude plays into a more standard sound of Neofolk music, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, because for me, Kick Dude has done one of the best Neofolk albums I've heard, and that is his debut Love. Not one of the most highly praised albums in his discography, but this pure and simplistic sound of Neofolk was really effective and made for one of the best moments I've heard into this entire genre. Unfortunately though, getting into some of the more recent material, his directions into rock sound and gothic rock music didn't really fit for me as much and didn't make for some really that great results. I would much prefer the more straightforward and more simplistic approach on albums like Love, because taking albums like his previous one, Music to Make War To, it tried to be so many different sounds and genres, and as a result it was just a big mess that made for a majorly disappointing album, a very average work. So this made me not be that excited for a brand new work from Kick Dude, as I expected that he would just keep on with his direction. Fortunately though, and to my surprise, Full Vigor Moon is a return to form, one of the more simplistic albums getting closer to just the straight up sounds of Neofolk and Gothic country music. And it's not just closer to my favorite album, which is his debut, but it's also a very good work, and it has quickly become one of my favorites in his entire discography. And like I said, as far as I'm not that much deep into the whole sound of Neofolk, as I'm not a huge fan of the genre, I'm not that much into singer-songwriter stuff and folk music, but I can say that this is definitely one of the best Neofolk albums I've heard in a very long time. In just 9 tracks and 30 minutes long, this very short album contains enough material in order to give a nice impression. I did not want more or less from this album. I like that it's just plain and simple, keeping it short. The album starts with a solid intro that gives an impression of a martial industrial song, and then it picks up really well with the second track, My Rose by the Sea, Satyr Boy. Very nice guitar melodies, nice dark ambient synths in the background, creating a nice atmosphere to it, and a very beautiful chorus. Another huge highlight for me is the track Forgive My Sins, a track that is a very sad piano ballad with such beautiful melodies and a great melancholic atmosphere to it. Very beautiful and a very smooth melancholic melody that drags for 5 minutes, and it makes it deservingly the longest track in this album. Finally, my other huge highlight is the final track, Something About You. Definitely one of those moments that immediately grabbed my attention the most, with this very infectious melodies and this very nice and beautiful chorus to it. The other moment I would say was kinda special in this album was the track Make Me Blind, the shortest track in this album and the most energetic one, with some very fast-paced guitars and kind of different in terms of atmosphere and production, especially the sound of it. It sounds quite rough, but it has definitely one of the better melodies to it. If only it had more pristine production and wasn't that short, it would make for an even better moment. Then there's the track Funeral Song for Atheists, which is basically a continuation of the track Make Me Blind when it comes to the lyrics. It's just played on a different melody and a far slower one, but it makes for a moment that was probably my least favorite and the most forgettable about this album. This different sort of execution did not work out as well. The self-titled track Full Vigro Moon is also not one of my favorite moments in this album. The track 456666, it's a very decent moment. I especially like the chorus to this. I think it's quite clever the way it's presented, and the Satanic Temple is another quite decent moment. So in general, I enjoyed this album a lot, and it has been a long time since I've enjoyed a Neofolk project as much, and I'm very glad that I gave this a shot and that King Dude just went back into his roots, into the more straightforward folk sounds, because this sound and this approach definitely works for him much more than the rock oriented stuff. And the album gets better and better the more I listen to it, so pleasant surprise, very short, plain and simple album, and essential for fans of Neofolk music. Some fans of King Dude might not like this album as much since it doesn't have the rock-oriented sounds of the previous works, but still I highly recommend you to give this a shot. I'm going to give Full Vigor Moon a 7 plus out of 10. What's your opinion on this album? Like it, dislike it, why, and what do you want me to review next time? Let me know down in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.